Thank you everyone for joining us, for tuning in. Welcome to the second season of Navigating Realities, where dialogue meets understanding. I'm here with my good friend, mentor, you name it, Kim Avant-Babb. I think everyone needs a Kim Avant-Babb in their life. You've been an inspiration to me since we've met. And one of the things I enjoy about our candid conversations, because I'm always asking you about, my career path, how do I start my business, how you encouraged me to go on my own business. And recently I wanted to bring this up because I think everybody needs someone like you in their life. And I'm always setting up meetings with you. I'm always setting up meetings with Kim. Kim, I need to talk to you about this, like I'm working on this. And I think last time I called you, I said, I want to talk to you about wealth creation. And I was going on and just talking, rambling like I'm doing right now. And you were looking at me just like that, like you're looking at me right now. And I said, Kim, what's wrong? She said, you said, stop buying stupid shit. That's what you told me. Stop buying stupid shit, Eric. You got enough stuff. And that stuck with me.
Did it?
Yeah, because, and we'll get into this later on, because you've really helped try to shape my mentality. And I think a lot of Americans struggle with being raised in this country, going from being a consumer to an owner. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you've harped on a lot. And I'm still trying to practice that, moving from a consumer to an owner. Because the American culture, and I don't think people realize this, you say, what is American? American is a consumer. That's what we are. We're judged by what we consume. Our homes, our cars, and all that stuff. So let's get into you a little bit. Enough of me rambling on. In Navigating Realities, we talk about three topics: race, religion, and politics. Mm-hmm. So tell me about you growing up. Where are you from? Where were you raised? And what are these three topics talked about in your home?
So I was raised in Philadelphia, born and raised in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. The last almost 30 years I've lived in southern New Jersey. My husband harps on me all the time when people ask me where I'm from. I say I'm from Philly. He said, you're from Jersey. No, I'm not. So born and raised in Philadelphia, transplanted to New Jersey like 29 years ago. Growing up in Philadelphia was really warm. All of my family is in Philadelphia, except for my sons are here in New Jersey. How was it growing up? Both parents, up until I was about 12 years old, my parents separated. My father was very much into the movement. Mm. He was very much into the movement. He was a big sports guy. He loved the fight, so Muhammad Ali was a presence in our home. He also was involved locally in advocacy, worked closely with Cecil B. Moore.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, who by profession was an attorney. Yep. He was the president of the NAACP in Philadelphia, and he also was a city council member. Mm. He also led the protests, which my father participated in. I remember hearing this as a child. My father worked with him to protest to integrate Girard College.
Oh, wow.
Girard College.
That was a big thing in Philadelphia back
yes,
then. Yeah.
It was, it was set up by the founder, Stephen Girard, who was one of the wealthiest men in the United States, as an educational environment for little white boys, mm-hmm. From grade school, I guess, to high school. And we had to fight to integrate that. So my father was very involved with that. So that was kind of like my first foray, my first exposure to race and equality and politics.
Wow. What about your faith? Like, was religion discussed in the home, or?
I was a convenient Catholic.
Really?
That's what I call it. Yes, boy. I was a convenient Catholic.
I didn't know that.
And I say that now. Born and raised in Philadelphia, lived in West Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. For the purists in Philly, we lived down the bottom. That's mm-hmm. what it was called. And back in the 60s, which is when I was raised, the best education was Catholic school education. Mm-hmm. So my parents worked very, very hard to afford for us to go to a Catholic school. Now, did they go to church? No. Mm-hmm. That's why I say we were convenient Catholics. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How have your faith journey now inform your thoughts about race, religion, and politics? Like, how did that transform, or I know you're not still a Catholic, but like, tell me about that journey.
Sure. So I have been fortunate to really explore and be exposed to a lot of different religions, right? Convenient Catholic, large family of Baptist ministers. At one point, I practiced Hinduism. Then I embraced Islam. Yeah, so I've gone through the Bhagavad Gita, the Torah, and all of those books through my lifetime, and it's really given me a broad perspective and understanding.
It's very different from what, like, many African Americans who migrated from the South. They were typically Christians, and they grew up in either Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, because I was a Pentecostal kid, Church of God in Christ. And it's very rare that you see people from Philly who have that type of experience in faith traditions like you. So that's pretty unique. And that has, like, tell me about how that shaped your entree into really real estate, because you've built a nice real estate empire. But before we get to there, you spent many years working for the state of New Jersey and New Jersey Redevelopment Authority. So talk a little bit about what was your role, what is the New Jersey Redevelopment Authority first, and what was your role there?
Well, since I fired them in 2020, it was a great experience, 23-year career with the New Jersey Redevelopment Authority, created legislatively to assist with financing and technical assistance in urban redevelopment. In the urban cities all across the state of New Jersey, there was deemed to be a need for additional financial resources to rebuild their commercial quarters and to offer them technical assistance around that. So it's interesting how I arrived there. My earlier career, I think I mentioned earlier, was in procurement. And so I worked in academia. I've worked in transportation, and then my last 23 years was with the state of New Jersey doing redevelopment. And I think all of my previous skill sets of procurement, civil rights, minority women business inclusion really set the stage for me to land that position with the state of New Jersey. And my foray was in civil rights, certifying and monitoring the state's participation with women and minority companies in their contracting. So at the NJRA, because all state authorities have these acronyms, right? I started at the ground level, really, in community galvanizing, around envisioning the rebuilding of their communities, and then migrated into financing, underwriting deals, redevelopment projects. The last 13 years of my career, I was given a tremendous opportunity to be an intrapreneur. And that is to create a business within a business, and that was leading the team to build, manage, and operate the New Jersey Redevelopment Authority's Redevelopment Training Institute. Because it's one thing to offer financing, it's one thing to offer technical assistance to these municipalities and stakeholders in that arena, but it's another thing for them to understand the law, the processes of redevelopment, what a capital stack is comprised of, etc. So that was my focus for the last decade, and it was really a crown jewel in my career.
So talk a little bit about, because I think we met at one of those training institutes that you had set up, and really blew me away. And from your experience being in this, race and socioeconomics play a role in whether, folks like yourself, aspiring, folks getting in real estate or developers, access to capital. Talk a little about that. How hard is it for, people of color, black folks, or particularly black women, to get access to capital to be in that space?
What was beneficial and just a blessing for me was to have my 9-to-5 be a macro in the realm of redevelopment, while simultaneously building a micro real estate development company with my husband. Right? So I was taking my 9-to-5 experience, training, exposure, one-on-one conversations with developers who were generationally involved in development, and then gleaning from that and applying it to building our micro real estate empire. I'm calling it an empire, right?
Oh yeah, it's an empire.
Yeah, and also representing the New Jersey Redevelopment Authority, who had millions of dollars to assist in financing these projects, and then translating that into, our smaller endeavors of leveraging what resources that we had to scale our business. So it's a different world. It's separated by zeros, really, and knowledge.
Well, Kim, I've been struggling the last few days, and when I'm always struggling about this, I come talk to you, and you set me straight. It's very hard. Let me say it's not very hard, but some people, it's difficult for them to make that transition from a consumer to an owner. And you were building those spaces along the way. Talk to me about your mentality. What sparked that? How did you move to that space? Because I think a lot of us, particularly some folks in from our communities, struggle with that. How did you do it?
Reality is, and I was able to compare a variety of worlds, right? The macro and the micro. In our community, we did not sit around the dinner table talking about blue chip stocks and real estate deals.
Right.
That's not what we're exposed to, right? And in having one-on-one conversations with developers who had been in it generationally, their uncle was a developer, their father was a developer. These conversations were in their sphere. Conversely, and I'm always going to talk in plural because my husband of 41 years, friends for 45, is my business partner, right? The story goes like this. The story behind the story is, growing up, my parents typically owned our primary home until they separated. It wasn't until I met my husband that I was exposed to real estate from an investment and revenue generating perspective. I give credence whenever I can to my mother-in-law, the late Estella Babb. She was the plug. She was the financial revolutionary, is what I identify her as, and people like us as who are breaking cycles, who are taking risks, right? So she was our family's financial revolutionary. She was a college-educated factory sewer. I'll say that again. She was a college-educated factory sewer. Why? Because back in the 50s, like, even if you had the education, you could not necessarily get the job and the opportunity. So she had to make a living the best way she could. She was a factory sewer. So was my mother. So were many of my aunts. But in addition to her being a factory sewer, she had a knack and an interest in real estate. Coming from the south to the north, we know that families migrated. She would buy multifamily properties to allow a place for her relatives to come, get on their feet, find a job. And she just duplicated that, right? So when I met my husband, he was working on one of her triplexes. And she was a deal maker. Now, she was a factory sewer, but we hear that she also gambled a little bit, right? And everybody knew that she brought real estate. So she made him a deal that if you finished the property, you could keep the rents. Well, I met him during this time, so we know where date night was. Like, I'm hanging with him, right? So fast forward, we got married, and Mom was insistent for us to invest in real estate. And we were doing what you just mentioned. Young family, we had bought our primary home, we were partying on the weekends, and we were 120% consumers. It took her a decade to convince us to invest in our first property. She gifted us $14,000, exposed to her son that she had squirreled away $14,000 for him as his inheritance. But she had come across the property.
What? Black folks, you said what?
She had squirreled away $14,000. I'm talking back in the early 90s.
Wow.
But she was adamant for us to get into this investing. She said, I will give it to you now to buy this property with the understanding that when I die, you will not get an inheritance. We took her up on that, and that was the strike of the match, coupled with a couple of follow-up challenges of being laid off from our jobs over the years, and realizing that people will pay you to live in a property that you own. So that was our strategy to create our own personal economy by duplicating what my mother-in-law gifted us and buy properties to create our own revenue stream. So that's how we got into it. And then the light bulb went off. and we were motivated by other realities, right? Young children, encouraging them to go to college, who was going to pay for it. We had gotten laid off 3 times between the 2 of us. What happens if it happens again? And if we arrive at those golden years and Social Security wasn't there, what was our strategy? And those 3 things really propelled us to work on 9 to 5s, work from 6 until midnight for years to build our portfolio.
That's the part I think we, some folks, even myself, are just coming to realizing, like, it takes work. You got to put in the work. It doesn't happen overnight. And we'll talk about your empire in a moment. But you mentioned some of the, you were laid off. You had to put kids through college, and so people see, well, it's too hard. I can't do that. But what motivated you to keep moving, to keep working at it? Like, what was it? Was it something that you and your husband talked about, or was it like, your mother-in-law set the groundwork for you? You guys wanted to move forward. What was it?
I talk to people about the difference between playing checkers and chess. I was fortunate to learn the game of chess at a very young age. Didn't know how it was going to impact me and complement my persona, my personality. I'm a strategist. I retired from the NJRA as Chief Strategy Officer. So I got paid to think based on my skill set, right? And so also, both of us, my husband and I, we're artists. We brought that skill set of having vision into our relationship and into our business. So when we talk about having vision and when we talk about strategizing, like the next 2 moves, 3 moves, if this happens, then that, right? I think that really propelled and guided us through the projection of setting goals for what we wanted in the future, and it governed our sacrifice and our consistency to do what we needed to do to manifest our long-term goal. I believe in the seed, the soil, and the harvest.
Explain that. What is that?
Basically, you have to plant seeds, like based on what your goals are. Plant the seeds, and you've got to weed, you've got to water, you've got to nurture those seeds in whatever that topic is or whatever that goal is in order to get a harvest. And sometimes you got to sit in the soil. You got to get dirty, right? Like, you can't just drop a seed and then have a harvest, right? You got to weed, you have to water, you have to maintain, and sometimes that could take a while, but that's where perseverance comes in. That's where resilience and resourcefulness comes in. I believe in living a very intentional life, especially at this chapter, and even prior, but especially now, based on where I am in the chapter of my life. I'm living very, very intentionally.
That's interesting, because I think one of the things that I always take from you, because I'm always calling you, let's have breakfast, we'll sit down and have breakfast and talk. And when I was contemplating on going on my own, every excuse I would give you would knock it down. I was like, Kim, I'm old. I'm 50-something years old. And what you always say, KFC started at 60. I never forgot that. I don't know how many people realize that Colonel Sanders started KFC when he was 60 years old. And that really kind of like, okay, Eric, like, if he can do it, then you can do it. So one of the things I think that key to, and I don't know what is the key to the success around being a landlord, because you have an amazing track record of being a landlord. And one of the most difficult periods in anyone who owns property or anyone at time is COVID-19. But you were able to really successfully manage that and move through that. And you still have one of the great rates in terms of very low eviction rates. Like
zero.
Yeah, zero eviction. Like, so what is that, Kim? How do you do that? How do you pull that off? Like, what's behind that?
You had asked me a question earlier about how faith plays into how I operate, how we operate, right? And our ability to have a 0% eviction rate in over 4 decades, I believe.
It's astounding.
and it wasn't something that we set out to do. It was something that we actually stumbled upon maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. Like, like we've never evicted anybody. And so getting back to the religious tenets, right, that we embrace as Muslims, it has a lot to do with character and integrity and morals, right? We want to be a good representation. We want to be an example. When we are screening for new applicants, I've said this in training, I've said this in public, and I asked the audience, like, what do you think is at the top of the list that we're looking at when we're screening applicants? And they say, having a job, money. No. No, it's not. I'm going to find the money. I need to check your character. I need to measure your integrity and your morals. I need to see if you are a fit for our company culture.
Wow.
I will find the money, right? But those are the key tenets that align with our lifestyle and our tenets and our practice that we force to mirror in our tenets, because if life happens, and we know life will life, I want to make sure that we have invited someone into our tenant community that will not ghost me, right? If the rent is late, they will answer the call. Seriously, they will answer the call, and they have a level of communication that is fair, that is honest, that is considerate. We have a tenant right now, exactly right now, within the last 24, 40 hours that I'm dealing with, right, who just renewed their lease. They were with us for a year. They had given notice that they were going to leave. Some things changed. Is it too late to renew? No, it's not too late to renew. I get a correspondence 48 hours ago. The husband got an opportunity for a job relocation on the West Coast. Well, you're 2 months into a new lease. There's a contract here. But the relationship is such that he wants to be considerate to our company.
Wow.
What do I need to do to be as fair as possible to both of us, because your company has been tremendous to us? That's the kind of people that we attract. And I believe that we're magnets based on who we are. We attract, and we should repel anything that's disruptive or contrary to what's going to make us whole.
I don't know if you know this, but like during COVID-19, that was a very tough time for landlords, and we were working on legislation here in New Jersey. Philly had a great mediation program, and we were putting one together here in New Jersey. And I called and asked you your some views and your opinions about what was important for landlords. So some of that stuff I took back, and we got in legislation because of your experience, your 0% interest eviction rate, and just your knowledge about the state and knowledge about being a landlord was critical for us to have a successful piece of legislation. And that was, a lot of folks think I'm smart. No, I just talk to smart people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I talk to smart people. I'm not that smart. But yeah, that was something. And you do classes. Talk about some of the classes you hold for landlords and helping people understand the importance of this.
I believe in my soul that when I fired my 9-to-5, had a great career, like I mentioned, at the NJRA, during COVID, on Zoom with the CEO, who gave me a tremendous amount of opportunity. I believe I went from my career to my calling. I believe I went from my career to my calling, because simultaneous to that 9-to-5, we were building our real estate company, creating systems and strategies and approaches to net have this, stellar track record, that I am not selfish with all of that knowledge and all those systems that we've created. So I started another company, Legacy Real Estate Consulting, which is totally focused on helping small landlords better manage their rental properties to avoid evictions, increase cash flow, and to build generational wealth. We always talk about generational wealth. Well, in the rental space, if the cash ain't flowing, that generational wealth is in jeopardy. So we've taken and made available our leases, our systems, our ideology, our culture, and basically built a company around it. So I do one-on-one coaching, September 27th, I don't know when this is going to air, of 2025, I will be doing an in-person 4-hour wealth building and landlording like a pro boot camp once a year, because my other passion is travel. So I'm pushing a pause in my life for a minute to provide and offer this one-on-one phenomenal intensive workshop.
Little known secret about Kim, she does half marathons.
No, I do not. I run.
She runs all over the world for these half marathons, which I can't run around a block. So, but you know, a lot of our conversations, you talk about this word generational wealth.
Yes.
What is it, and why is it important to you?
It's important. It's extremely important for us as a people, us as a community, and you know, creating a springboard for the next generation, financially, economically, not only economically, but intellectually, right? Spiritually, emotionally, you know, culturally, family, like wealth. And I asked one of my grandchildren this years ago, like, what's wealth, you know? And of course, everybody thinks about monetary. No, it's not. If you don't have good health, that's your wealth. Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about, you know, holistically, it's all important to understand legacy, and that legacy is anything that you touch, talk to, encourage, support. So, and that's financially, emotionally, spiritually, economically, nutritionally, and all of that, I believe, is extremely important to pour into the incoming generations. I'm motivated by words, right? I read a lot, I talk to a lot of people, and you know, conversations sear into our minds, right? Depending on what the situation is. I remember years ago, I was dealing with someone who was a subcontractor for me, and they were on the phone with their son, and the son was indicating that his daughter was graduating, and this contract that I was working with, I'm ear hustling, said, well, you know, don't call here, don't tell her to come here, because I ain't got nothing for her. That stuck with me as motivation to work at 120% to create wealth, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, to be able to pass the baton on to future generations and make it a little easier, but also educate them and prepare them to receive the baton.
That's an important point. Like, we talk about passing the baton, but are they prepared to receive the baton? So whose job is to do that? I mean, how do we get folks prepared to do that? I'm not quite sure or certain that, let me say, my generation have done a good enough job of you know, getting folks to listen. And probably because, you know, many of us didn't have the tools, and we had to learn those tools on the fly. So I don't know. What do you think?
I believe in personal accountability.
Okay. All right.
I believe we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to put ourselves on punishment if necessary. And we have to just bone up and do what we need to do to fill the gap. But also, you know, have that accountability lie where it should be. And what I mean is this. I think about the cultural griots, right? They told the stories. Yeah. They held the knowledge. They passed it on. I believe as elders, in whatever age range or realm you are, it's our job to pass that information on and create those spaces. Create those spaces and have, you know, our circle receive. Now, everybody's on their own timeline. It took my mother-in-law a decade to see her and penetrate, but we finally got it. So while we cannot gauge when someone is ready,
that's true.
I believe when our cup is full, is our obligation to pour out. And those who are ready to receive it now or in the future, it will come into play and be a point of reference for them. right? That's how I think about it. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility. It is our responsibility. It is our responsibility. And I think too that our daily activities, involvement, be it volunteer, social, political, that we have to consciously be pouring out.
You see why I talk to Kim? You don't let me have any excuses, but I think what you said is very important, because I do believe one of our purposes of being here is to pass down information. Like that, ultimately, in the nutshell, we have to pass down information. And I think, I'm listening to you talk now, I'm realizing like I didn't, coming to understanding and stop being frustrated with myself and other folks. Everybody's timing is different. And I think, and you always remind me of that. You always remind me that, again, going back to KFC started at 60, because I was like, I'm too old. And that's just like...
But that's a mindset. Like, where do we get our blueprint from?
Right.
Where do we get our intellectual blueprint from? We've been impressed, we've read something, we've heard something, we've seen something, and then we apply it and say, that's my blueprint. Okay, but we have the power to push the boundaries of that, reinvent ourselves at any time. Early in my career...
I don't understand that part of it though, Kim.
Early in my career, I was in a circle of individuals. We were having conversations, and this gentleman comes out and asks this profound question: What is one of our most powerful tools that we have, our ability to have? And people are answering different things, family, health. He said, our ability to reinvent ourselves at any time. That's a powerful tool that we have that is driven by our intellect. Our ability to reinvent ourselves at any time. So, having said that, there's no excuse, right? So, 52 weeks in a year, if you read a book on any topic every week for 52 weeks, you are an expert. You know more about that topic than anybody else does. And nobody can take that away from you. And then you apply it to whatever it is that you want to do. I look at myself as an example. I'm tremendously blessed. To have attained, I keep saying blessings, but the success, by society's success that I have without a college degree. I've never let a schoolhouse get in the way of my education.
I mean, you've had high positions in
I'm
the
an
state.
avid reader. I'm resourceful. I'm resilient. I've got grit. I have matriculated 5 times.
And over $1 million portfolio in real estate, well over.
Multi-million, right? But I've met I've met entrepreneurs along the way just like me. Just grit, ambition, hustle, like I'm going to make it happen and learn along the way. And know that
But you have to be open to learn though, right?
Yeah, because I'm an avid reader. I'm a triple L. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm reading 5 books right now. And will continue on that journey until they throw dirt on me, because I understand we have to be nimble. We have to be aware that we have to continue to evolve with information, exposure. I'm in so many rooms right now because I want the exposure. I like being around young people. Right, because of the energy, the ideas. I volunteer a lot, especially with young people. I was in a room, let me give them a shout out, By the Hood Youth Financial Literacy Camp in Philadelphia. They do it every year. I was invited this year for the first time as a guest. I'm talking about from 5 years old to 18.
Really?
Teaching about financial literacy. I'm talking about cryptocurrency, real estate, investing. These young children blew my mind. Because they were talking about being venture capitalists. They wanted to be venture capitalists.
I'm still trying to find out what venture capitalist is.
There was like, some information being shared. And it was these 2 young brothers. They had to be like 12 or 13. And the responses to the questions and the PowerPoints about finance. And it was like, no. I think I want to be an angel investor on this. I'm like, what? But the point is, they're sponges. As long as we're feeding them,
Yeah.
and they're put in those environments where they can feed off of that content, and they're going to be obedient to the universe of that information. So again, my cup is full. I'm going to keep pouring, and whoever can grasp it, because I've been blessed to utilize that information and know that there are no limitations except for the limitations that we create for ourselves. Whether you have a degree or not, you don't need validation, you just need knowledge. And historically, we know that it was against the law for us to learn. But just like my parents, they knew education was the way. I picked up on that and have been hungry for decades to just constantly, like little Pac-Man, just keep learning and applying it where it's appropriate.
Well, that's one of the things, you know, I'm a big Jay-Z fan. I think he's a GOAT. And he always talks about, throughout all his career, what would life be like for you if you knew you couldn't fail? Right? What decisions would you make if you knew you couldn't fail? That's a whole different mindset, right? And like I was listening to him on the way here, you know, that song "We Off That," you know, like you wearing Tim's, we off that. We're on to something. That having the ability to reinvent yourself, I think is not talked about enough. I think we need to talk about that more. That ability as human beings, that creativeness. Like I tell folks, we are created by a creator to be creators.
But we're not taught that.
I know.
And full disclosure, this is on camera, right? Full disclosure. This is full disclosure. My 60-year-old birthday gift to myself was to fire my 9-to-5. We have been blessed to build and replace our income to do that. It took me 60 years to experience freedom. And it took me a few months to even digest and understand the emotion that I was feeling of freedom to be where I wanted to be, why I wanted to be, and have the resources to do that. So think about it. From the time we're born, our life is governed. By our parents, then we're in school, then we're in high school, we're in college, then we're on a job. We're always answering and being directed by limitations of a buzzer, of a job, of a clock. Imagine, I had never known the feeling of freedom until I turned 60 years old. So, back to that question, like, who are you uninterrupted? Where would you be? Who would you be if you had no limitations? It's a phenomenal feeling that I have been blessed to experience because of the seed, the soil, and the harvest. Like, we're walking in our victory garden right now because of 35 years of seeding and watering and being consistent and resilient and pushing against some of the biases in real estate that told us no, but we weren't, you know, willing to accept that.
Those biases play a role in folks giving up. Why didn't you give up? I mean, because there are plenty of reasons. You talked about this, or you got laid off, your kids went, like, there are plenty of reasons to give up. Why didn't you give up?
Because we're playing chess. Like, we have set a goal for our lives and for our family and for our village that was more powerful than the no. And we also positioned ourselves to not have to go through that door. An example is this. Post-COVID, we decided to leverage one of our assets. We went to a lender, right? And this is a clear example of racial bias and the decrease in the value of assets of melanated people. Like, real deal here. Wonderful, white couple, 2 kids living in one of our properties in a very gentrified neighborhood, and the lender sent the appraiser. The appraiser came, the number came in exactly where we thought it should be. Got a call from the lender, the LTV is a little above the ceiling, so we got to do another appraisal. The first time the appraiser came, my partner was late. So the family opened the door and let him in. The second appraiser came, my partner was on time. The appraisal came in $75,000 lower than the first one.
Wow.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a real example that we've experienced around racial bias in the appraisal industry. Mm-hmm. How did we get past that? Strategically, we wanted to do the deal, but we didn't have to do the deal. So we did not allow that lender to basically steal $75,000 in value in our asset. We said, Shark Tank, because of that, we're out. And we walked away from the deal. So positioning yourself again, financially and business wise, to not have to is a powerful place to be.
So what would you say to a young person who's starting out?
Stop buying stupid shit.
that is such a profound, Kim, I tell you.
Because we are going to be consumers.
We are raised to be consumers. In a capitalist society, we are measured by what we consume, what car we drive, what house we live in, what school our kids go to, what clothes we wear. We have been relegated, and I tell people this all the time, culturally, what is an American culture? And people can't answer that question because they don't want to think about what is an American? Because you travel overseas and you travel all over the world, you experience these other countries, you experience their culture. You go to Greece, you are immersed and you see their culture, you experience their culture. What is our culture here? Consumerism. That's it.
It's interesting, that question. Like, if I knew then what I know now, and I say this to every, not only young person, but anybody who wants to get into real estate, right? Talk about culture again and talk about, I don't want to say brainwashing, but conditioning, right? When we got married, the first thing we want to do is buy our home. Wrong move. If we knew then what we knew now, we would have done what we are teaching our 18-year-old granddaughter, who is just hungry and ambitious to own real estate. Do not buy a single family property. Buy a multifamily property. Live in one unit. It's called house hacking now. Wasn't called house hacking back then, but it's called house hacking. And we're encouraging her to buy a duplex, a triplex, if you can get a quad, a 4-unit, live in one unit, and rent out the other 1, 2, 3, or 4. It is a springboard for wealth building.
Damn, Kim.
We didn't know that back then.
We were told to buy a house, go to school, go to college, get a degree, get in all this debt, buy a house.
Exactly.
Wow.
No.
That's a different mindset.
It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. And it's just not.
You see why I talk to her all the time?
It's not taught. Come on, let's talk about wealth building. The other strategy that's not taught is, from an affordability perspective, if you want a car, you want a vacation, buy a property for each one of those. Buy a rental property for each one of those. Buy a rental property and let the positive cash flow, because you need positive cash flow now. You can't be breaking even. You can't be losing money. Let the positive cash flow pay for the car note. Second house. Let the positive cash flow pay for your children's education. Cash flow. From the third property, let the cash flow pay for your vacation. This is what we did. This is what we saw. But you know what, too? You got to invest in your knowledge.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with social media and being lazy learners, like, we want the microwave, delivery of stuff, right? I was thinking about this at one point just recently, in light of this digital fire hose of information, and then also the control of content that's happening right now. We might have to go back to the Dewey Decimal System. Like, one of my favorite places was the free library on the Parkway in Philadelphia. Like, I would comb those shelves and just fondle the books and read, like, get into the dirt and do the research. So my point there is, we've got to invest in our knowledge and learning. It's not all going to come just like that. I talk to young people that are 21, 22. They want to be a millionaire by 30. Like, really? Okay. I'm not saying it's impossible. However,
you got to put in the work.
You got to put in the work. And part of that work is education. Understanding the terminology, the strategies. Success leaves clues.
That's for sure.
If you're not researching and studying what you deem success, with all the scrolling and the, life creep and buying shit you don't
Life
need.
always leaving us clues, and we just don't see them. And we got to wrap up a minute.
Sure.
But I'll tell back in the day when I was a pastor, I used to pastor. I don't know why I used to do that. But anyway, it was like, Pastor Eric, I'm just waiting for the Lord to give me a sign. If he just give me a sign. I said, you know what? I hear you. Some of those signs, it's just like a person who got pulled over a speed and got a speeding ticket. And it's like, I don't know, I didn't realize the Lord was giving you a sign. Every other block it says speed limit. Your ass just wasn't looking. It says speed limit every other block. That's your sign.
Yes.
And so we're not paying attention to the signs, right? It's like, Jay-Z said, I'm trying to get your plan for $9.99. Like the blueprint has been there, Kim, but investing in ourselves is, I think, part of the challenge for us, because we've been taught to, old Kanye say to hate ourselves and love that wealth. So we're chasing something that really is already been here. It's here, but we're looking for it from the outside, and we're chasing outside, and that's part of the problem. So we got to wrap up. I always ask. This has been so powerful. Y'all see why I talk to Kim? I sit down and have breakfast with her. Like, okay, Kim, it's time to have breakfast. I need to talk to you. We always wrap up Navigating Realities with asking this final question. What is one of your favorite quotes and why? You are what you eat.
Physically, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, financially. You are what you eat, what you're ingesting in these rooms that you're in, the conversations, the people that you're around. I encourage you to be mindful about what you're ingesting, what you're exposing yourself to, because we are what we eat.
Wow, that's powerful. Very simple, but very powerful. So we'll wrap it at that. And just because of who you are, as J. Cole say, if you didn't aim too high, then you aim too low. That's a wrap. Wow. Amazing. Always inspiring. I mean, you always kill it. I mean, everything about what we do and what we talk about at breakfast, I've been trying to put into place. And sometimes, it's hard, it's difficult, because we got to put in the work. And I think sometimes, and you always never let me make excuses. I'm saying, well, Kim, I'm old. But I'm learning, I'm experiencing that same freedom now at soon to be 57 that you're talking about. I don't know how to translate that, to pass that down to younger generations, because I don't know if you have to go through those things first in life to experience that. Because if I can translate that, if I can give people that glimpses of freedom, that's what, Nina Simone asked her, what is freedom? And she said, I'll tell you what freedom is: no fear. And when you set your life up to not be afraid to lose your job, we're taught to live in fear.
Even parenting.
Yeah.
I was raised on fear. Like, my mom said, do something, you better do it.
Yeah, we surround our lives with fear because that's what we're taught. And we have to reprogram ourselves to live outside of fear. One of my best friends, Tony Davis, he owns a barbershop in Frankfurt. And I was struggling with this question, and it popped in my head, like, Tony's a person who doesn't live his life in fear. And I said, how did you do that? And he told me the story of why he doesn't live his life in fear. And I'm going to have him on a podcast to tell that story. But it's a powerful tool when you live your life outside of fear.
And I think to your curiosity about how do you I believe just living by example is a method to display and to share and to expose, because people are watching us no matter what we're doing, who we are. So if we can live and step in that frame of knowing that you want to be an example, like, I know for a fact that because my granddaughter has told me, the 18-year-old who wants to be a real estate mogul, She's like, man, I know I got big shoes to fill. I'm like, no. She's like, but I know she's watching. So it can be intentional and unintentional that we are examples.
I think I'm trying to live an example of not being afraid to be who I am. You helped me with this. You taught me a lot about, I've never took time to learn me. When you told me that story where you ran, I was like, what your husband say about you traveling all over the world? He was like, what you mean? What he said. That shit took me out. I live my life by this now. He's like, what?
Sorry, I'm chuckling real
hard. Like, what you mean? What my husband said? I'm my own individual person. He his own individual. I had my life and my hobby. I was like, oh shit. That never dawned on me as a having a spouse. And I realized that in my first marriage, my first wife, she was consumed, and I, kind of like pushed her and consumed her, living a life that was pigeonholed as a wife, mother, pastor's wife, all that bullshit. And now I'm like, I take alone vacations, just me now, and really discovering me. I'm 50, great turn 57, and in the last, since we had that first conversation about that, it was like 3 years ago, I'm finally discovering, God damn it, I like being alone. I was afraid to be alone.
But we are responsible. Happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
We are responsible for that.
Yeah.
Only we know what we like, what we don't like, what pisses us off, and brings us joy. Nobody else. Our partner can be a compliment to our happiness.
Yeah.
Friends for 45, married for 41. I love this man, but sometimes I don't like him.
Yeah, that happens.
So I might need a day trip and hit the spa and come on back after I recharged and reset and then deal with this man that I love.
Absolutely.
We all have character flaws.
Absolutely.
We all have character flaws. However, 10 toes down, we come into this world as an individual, and we're going to leave that way. So I believe it behooves us to be true to thyself and fill our cup. Fill our cup. Only after we fill our cup can we pour into other people.
That's so true, because this is my favorite quote from God bless the prophet, the priest, the king, the artist. And I'm going to get into your fashion stuff, but James Baldwin said, you have to decide who you are and force the world to deal with you, not its idea of you.
I agree.
That's powerful.
I agree.
That's powerful.
And what's even more powerful is, as you go through your life's journey, understanding the power that you have to that point. And me personally, full disclosure, in the last 5 years, after I, cut top, this is me. Take it or leave it. The light is shining bright.
Shine bright like a diamond, like Rihanna says. Shine bright like a diamond.
And I feel so fulfilled. I feel genuine. I feel like I said, I've gone from my career to my calling. And as Les Brown would say, live full and die empty. That's my goal right now, to live full and die empty.
Live full and die empty.
I just came from my 42nd state, running on last weekend in Wisconsin.
Wow.
And if I had to do it solo, I would have went solo. I'm at 40.
Kim's over 60 running.
I'm about to be 65 next month.
Yeah.
So, 42 states, 4 continents, and 6 islands. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you for listening. I'm Reverend Eric Dobson, and this was Navigating Realities, where dialogue meets understanding. Follow and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, and tune in on all streaming platforms. See you next time.